Welcome back to our best of 5 here between TSM and 100 Thieves in the lower bracket. I'm Captain Flowers. I'm here with Azael. We want to ask for your help on something. The LCS has partnered with the Blood Centers of America in the fight against COVID-19. If you've got COVID antibodies, consider donating some plasma to earn yourself a free KDA all-out Kaisa skin. And thanks to all the donations so far from all y'all, we're starting to run low on those codes. So check it out. Go to the web address there on your screen, snag yourself a free skin, and we'll get that much closer to herd immunity, people getting vaccinations, and us being able to cast this game from the studio. As much as I like this Skarner poster, this picture, whatever this is, I even raised the right hand to point to it. That's how long we've been here. It's going to be great to get back in the studio.
I really would, man. I miss the studio. I miss the fans, being surrounded by all the action. But I'm very excited to be casting what is shaping up to be a pretty competitive series here, at least in game number 1. TSM playing very well, very calm, cool, collected. 100 Thieves had their opportunities to create early game leads, couldn't execute at that third dragon. I am going to be curious. I'm always so interested to see when teams come in with a clear game plan. Do they deviate after one loss? 100 Thieves clearly wanted to counterpick towards top. They wanted to be able to, get a lot of early game power and try to potentially run over the game. They are going to be on blue side here, so they won't necessarily have top lane counterpick, but you can still play towards top lane through powerful combos such as Renekton Nidalee and so on and so forth.
Let's see how the draft changes up with that side switch. It's Seraphine, Orianna, Renekton, and Senna all banned away here. So we continue to not see any other Renekton. They're keeping that one away from Someday. I can understand why. We've seen some pretty incredible performances from him on it before. Seraphine remains permabanned here. Very, very powerful champion. Udyr also pretty high on priority still. So that one's taken off the table.
Yeah, I mean, the Renekton is by far Someday's best champion. He has nearly an 82% win rate on it with 11 games here, throughout Spring Split, throughout lock-in. He has been really, really good on this pick. So going to be taking that away. Gives 100 Thieves a clear win condition, which is something TSM do not want to do. Olaf is still up. Hecarim's going to be banned out, so it feels like probably a pretty easy Olaf grab here potentially. Trist also up though, so they're going to prioritize the Trist. LCS TSM do want to go for something like the Olaf, or if they're looking more for a combination, prioritizing something like the Rel, and they're okay with going towards one of the AP junglers that are also pretty high priority here in the Nidalee and the Lilia.
Tristana locked in first. Not surprised about that when you saw the win rate pop up there on the screen for a moment. I believe it was 64 or something like that. And generally anything above a 55 is really, really good. So being almost 10 more percentage points higher, this champion wins a lot of games. The Gnar is locked in here for the second game in a row for TSM, for Huni specifically. And we'll see what else they want to go with here with these first couple of picks here. Plenty of power picks, plenty of S tiers still available. The Rel that you already mentioned, we know how deadly that is in combination with a Tristana. So we'll see if TSM wants to deny that or if they're okay giving that duo over to 100 Thieves. Looks like the Nidalee might be the prio instead, and indeed it is.
Very interesting that there's not really any priority on Olaf so far, in this series. Going to be potentially falling through. We'll see if the Nidalee does get locked in alongside that Lilia. With the Gnar being locked in early, we could also just get another counter pick up on the top side, right? So we could have a rematch of the Jace. The Aurelia is available. Of course, we haven't really seen Someday play that Aurelia. He hasn't actually brought it out. You can still go towards other options. Like, I also wouldn't have minded if they wanted to go towards, something like the Olaf plus Camille. That combo can be really good at punishing mini Gnar. Of course, then you would need to move the Tristana down to bot lane. But with an AP jungler, you could have Tristana as your solo lane. You could have Jace up at the top lane. It's very similar to kind of what they did last time with the Lucian Jace. Of course, Tristana does have some more scaling. The Syndra, really strong answer here from PoE. This is the kind of preferred matchup as long as you're considering pro play that people like to pick into that Tristana mid. You can use that Scatter of the Weak. When Tristana goes for the rocket jump, he is lining himself up for that stun to be landed, to knock him out of that, and it becomes very difficult to actually create these aggressive plays that Tristana really thrives on in lane against the Syndra.
Sylas will be banned away now. We've got the Rel banned out by 100 Thieves, so they clearly have no interest in picking that themselves there with the Tristana. Instead, we'll get to see some other different flavor. Probably another one of the supports that's really good at engaging, disengaging, having the CC, the dives, and all of that. We've seen plenty of Alistar and similar notions, so we'll still have to wait and see what these next couple of bans here are. TSM has one more to go. They know that their opponents have their top laner. They have their jungler. They could have a mid laner or an AD carry in the Tristana. So the Kalista will be banned away recognizing and respecting that Tristana flex capability.
It's also pretty interesting, you know, banning out the Kalista here, because it feels like TSM is saying, all right, 100 Thieves, you want to play early, you want to play aggressive, you're going for the Jace for the counter pick top lane, you're going for Tristana, you know, potentially to kind of run the table in that mid lane. And if they were to get Kalista, that would give them a way to stack dragons, that would give them a way to snowball the game, so they're more worried about that, and as a result, going to be shutting that down. Jinx going to be banned out here, which, you know, TSM was really effective with last time, but this does leave Alistar up, one of Sword Art's best champions. They are going to prioritize the Kai'Sa instead.
Okay.
We could see a return to, you know, the Ashe even again, with quite a few AD bans out here. We did actually see FBI playing that last time, but it's not that like full-on take over the game style carry that you really do kind of identify FBI as being that player. You know, he has really been the best player for this team. He's been the guy that most people are pointing to, really taking over the game, really carrying hard. And when you look at the champions that he plays in the regular season, it's much more that style, right? It's a huge amount of Kai'Sa games. He has Aphelios games, Xayah games, Tristana, champions that are more mobile and have more ability to actually take over a team fight on their own. He's playing much more of a supportive style when you relegate him to the Ashe. When you put him back on here, he brings the engage, which they're going to need even more engage, honestly, because they do not have an engage support themselves. Really, it's like basically just poke and Ashe arrow. Sure, you can find a sleep. Sure, you can find a flash Braum ultimate or something, but these are not things that you can rely on whatsoever. So very low on the engage is the 100 Thieves team comp, but if they are being dove onto, Braum can be pretty effective. Again, it feels like we're setting up for a very similar situation where TSM have the 5v5, they have the scaling, you know, very likely, but 100 Thieves, if you can create early advantages, if you can be playing from ahead, then you can force TSM to come to you at these objectives where you can potentially absorb the engage, utilize the Braum to kite back, double AD carry plus Jace, poke them out a bit, and try to kill off that front line as you're kiting backwards. Of course, if you fall behind in the laning phase, the game is going to look like what we saw toward the end of the game last time. I mean, again, you have 4 very squishy champions. You have very few engage tools. So if 100 Thieves are not the first ones to these objectives, you can't really walk in and face check a Mega Gnar or an Alistar combo as really anyone here. So 100 Thieves have painted themselves into a corner a bit with that, but they have some tools to create advantages. They have the Jace matchup. They have the Ashe, which is a strong laner here. And we'll see if they can really make the most of it to create the edges that they're going to need to get a hold in this game.
And I'm curious how the Jace versus Gnar will play out for the second time here, because we did see Someday doing his job, winning the lane early on. It was Huni who was at a pretty significant CS deficit. He was trapped underneath the turret. Someday was able to solo kill him, although he died right after to the turret because he couldn't flash out in time. Will 100 Thieves play more around that? Will TSM continue to focus it as much as they did in the previous game? You know, after that first turret fell, Someday died 2 separate times thereafter when TSM just sent 2 or 3 people up there to collapse on him. So particularly with the Jace, since they're comfortable locking it in again, obviously 100 Thieves has faith that this is the right choice.
Yeah. And I think they can get it done, right? I think Someday, as you said, you know, did a good job creating those advantages, but I also think Huni kind of misplayed on those first couple waves and put himself in a worse position than he had to be in. He is, again, going for Cloth 4-pot, so a very defensive start here. And the problem I kind of have a little bit on the 100 Thieves side is A, they have less engage this time, and B, mid lane isn't really a winning matchup, right? Like, this is actually, I feel, in the favor of the Syndra. Yes, you can still push as the Trist, but when we look at how aggressive the Lucian was able to play into the Orianna, dashing past the waves, really bullying, using that to get into your opponent's jungle, enable buff steals that we saw Closer going for. This is a very different story, right? So really your only major advantage is on that top side, and your engage is much lower. They are, though, going for a potential invade here, and this has been warded out. So we'll see where Closer wants to go from here and where TSM is going to take it. It may just push it into a split map position. I think it's smart that TSM will not contest this. Ashe plus Braum is ridiculously OP at level 1. You can't really fight that, so Speaker may just have to go down to the enemy blue.
top lane already turning into some aggressive behavior here as the minions collide for the first time. Here in mid, Ryoma just zoning Power of Evil away from the minion wave. Takes out the 2 minions by himself there with the explosive shot. And down there in the bottom side, you can see, yes, Closer is still sticking around. He's not just stealing the blue. He wants to take the rest of the camps, and that means that Spica will head into the blue side jungle of 100 Thieves. And it's exactly as you said, Isaac, it's time for some vertical jungling, which means that the side laners have to play respectfully. If you know that Lilia is going to be down there in the bottom half for Lost and Sword Art, you're stuck underneath the turret. But now with Spica showing up here on the top side,
he's gonna 3-buff.
We've got some rotations coming around from both.
Yeah, I mean, Someday has prio top, and he actually, just look at Closer. He's going straight in towards the other side. I thought he was going to run straight to his own blue buff and, and then 3-buff by taking the blue and then going back to his own red, but instead he's actually going for an even more aggressive option. Takes 2 camps from one side, then goes over the Raptors. He will get the Raptors, and if Spica can't get something back somewhere else, like, this is a horrible start. Spica is going to be on 2 camps right now, and Closer has not only done more camps, as we'll have to wait, Someday will be able to get away. I mean, Closer has done an additional camp and has all 6 camps on his side of the map available to farm.
This is some Chad jungling right here. Takes 3 camps from the enemy player, loses none of his own, and comes back to an easy pathing afterwards. Can go right up into the topside river as he takes down his own wolves. He can grab that scuttle crab and then just go back into his own jungle and pick up both the buffs and have them for such a long amount of time to continue to make plays with. Power of Evil gets a good little trade here onto Ryoma, takes him down to half HP, but with his jungler right next to him, Ryoma doesn't appear
he's gonna
to
get double scuttled too.
Yet.
Oh my god, this is an insane start.
Is Spica just gonna prance, or Closer just gonna prance over there and steal this one from Spica too?
Yeah, I mean, the bot lane's closer.
We've got the 2v2 breaking out here in the bottom lane with the damage of the CC pouring out from the Ash and the Braum together. Sword Art's already having to flash away, and Lost uses the cleanse to break away from the CC. That's both flashes down for the TSM bottom lane. A TP will show up, and the pressure from 100 Thieves ends up getting so many summoner spells out of TSM. Yes, Spica got the crab, but having to trade a flash and another flash and your top laner's teleport for it, that is rough.
This is not worth it at all. I mean, this just felt like Spica said, hey guys, we lost the game. I need to help getting this scuttle. and it's like one of those situations where it's like, oh, I have 0 camps and I'm about to get double scuttled. I need this, right? And you're calling for your team to help. You already got hard counter jungled. But look at how much they lose off of this play. Like, this is just awful. They lose 3 sums bot side. They lose the TP. And it's going to be at least 2 waves, if not 3 waves, that Huni actually loses up on the top side. Because 2 waves of Crash, the third is going to bounce and push away from him, which is just horrible, horrible, horrible. So Huni really sacrificing himself to, help out his jungler, but it's not even like it put Spica in a good position. It put him in a slightly less horrible position.
You hate to see it, man. And now back here in the bottom lane, FBI just keeps on harassing these guys as much as possible. Like you mentioned back in draft, you take the lethal tempo on the Ashe. All it takes is 1 volley to hit an enemy champion, and you get that nice attack speed buff for a couple of seconds to really continue poking at these guys. And that didn't look like a very fun laning experience there for little Huni.
Yeah, I mean, and the wave is pushing away from you, right? Because he got the free Crash, not only do you lose the minions, but the wave slow pushes away from you. It builds up. Like, this wave can be perma-frozen if he wants, so you need your jungler behind you to have that safety. If Closer actually just sprinted top, there would be some opportunity to punish, but of course Closer hasn't base, so Huni may end up being safe, but it does draw that jungle attention. Spica up here has to cover the push-in, and as a result, with all of this farm that's going to be going over towards Someday, he's going to have a pretty significant lead here, and the early game without any kills is nearly a 1,000 gold lead.
Oh, Closer goes over the wall right as Spica completes his recall, and that means Huni is now forced to flash to escape, and it goes from bad to worse for TSM here during the laning phase.
Poor Huni, man. It feels so bad. After you sacrifice everything to go down to that bot side, then the anti-timing there as the recall finishes right as Closer comes over the wall, and Spica is not there to help Huni, so the flash is forced off of him. He is really in a tough spot here. At the very least, it doesn't look like there's any potential dive that is being set up, so he should be able to collect the wave that does get pushed in. Get a little bit of farm going here, but he has been put in such a bad position with the blind pick, with how this early game has played out, that it's really just on the rest of the team to carry. Huni is kind of sacrificed for the squad in pick ban as well as in the gameplay. So other people elsewhere have got to get stuff done to really make this worthwhile.
Closer is going for his next Scuttle Crab here this game, a little bit more damage. Once he hits level 6, he's got Predator, he's got his tier 2 boots. As soon as he has that ulti, this guy's ganks are going to be the stuff of nightmares for TSM. Remember that both those bottom laners still don't have their flash back up. It's still another minute and a half before Lost or Sword Art is able to flash away. Sword Art's not level 6, so he can't really just depend on tankiness to survive either. Up there in top lane, Huni's got a long while to go till his flash is ready to go again. So really, as soon as Closer hits that 6 like he has just now, I'm expecting to see some big playmaking for 100 Thieves.
Absolutely, that's what you want to see. Or at the very least, threaten that playmaking by starting up the dragon and saying, hey, if you come, I'm going to do this to you, right? Like, you don't have to hard force. You can just start to snowball the dragons. And last game, they took a long time actually grabbing that first dragon. So I'm glad to see that they're able to get this one. It is not right on spawn, but it is quite early, and they can utilize this to try to snowball the game, to create a win condition in a situation where they need to be the ones pushing the pace.
Okay, the first dragon will go over to the side of 100 Thieves, and it's quicker than it was in the previous game. Game number 1, first Drake fell around 11 minutes. So here in game number 2, 100 Thieves is an entire 3 minutes faster to that objective and starting up that stack.
Mid lane going pretty well for Ryoma, you have to say. He is significantly ahead in the farm, about 2 waves up here as Power of Evil will go collect a couple more of these minions. So he's doing a good job. When you take in consideration how heavily favored people were actually putting the lane on the side of Power of Evil, I think he's done a fine job in these first 2 games. He has not been getting mid-gapped, but Power of Evil, of course, on the Orianna really did have a lot of effective team fights, a lot of great shockwaves in those later stages, so you never can count him out. Ooh, that was a good cleanse.
Yeah, the Ash Arrow finds the mark on Lost before he has time to hit level 6 and have a fair fight, but because the cleanse cooldown is so low, he still gets away. Ryoma now in some trouble here. Takes a lot of damage from Power of Evil, but he does get a turret plate in the process.
Yep, gets that turret plate. Trade of ultis, not too bad. Of course, things can get more dangerous as the Syndra gets a little bit more AP under her belt. Starting out, again, with the tier, with the Corrupting Potion, there's not a lot of oomph behind that ultimate early on, but as he starts to build up that AP, things can get very threatening. And Tristana doesn't really want to go towards a lot of MR. You want to be able to kill off the frontliners, who is mostly who you're going to be hitting in 5v5. It's going to be the Alistar, it's going to be the Gnar. Those are the people that you really want to try to work through. You want to have the ability to assassinate, so a lot of people are going towards things like the Gale Force. But that being said, if you don't pit stop for something, like even just an all-magic mantle or something to deal with all the magic damage that's going to be coming out from Nidalee as well as Syndra, there's always the chance that if you get hit by that Scatter of the Week into a spear, you can just get 100-0'd.
Well, down here in the bottom side, it's TSM with control over the river. Unfortunately, there's no objective to be taken for another 3 minutes. Spica has caught up pretty well to Closer here in the jungle. It is still over a 1,000 gold lead for the side of 100 Thieves so far. You can see there on the left side of your screen, it's Ryoma and FBI, the 2 richest players on the Rift. And out of the top 5, only 1 player from TSM is there in that top half of the gold, and that is Lost. Power of Evil now just moving up there himself as he clears out a couple of minions. And then this wave will be caught by Ryoma here in front of the tier 1 turret. And 100 Thieves, man, 1,500 gold lead with no kills on the board. Really good stuff for them here.
Yeah, the laning has been going really, really well. They are extending these advantages. I think a lot of it was created by how well Closer actually pathed in the early game, how aggressively he played that, create advantages. Nicely blocked there by Sword Art. Remember, the cleanse was gone from Lost, so Sword Art had to tank that, or Lost was dead. So stepping into the arrow, using his ulti to get it off, but with the tower already taking some damage, you drop Herald, and this is getting dangerously low to just going down.
This will be similar to what we saw in the previous game. FBI almost able to get that second plate beforehand, so not quite all 3 of them like in game 1, but they're still picking up some free plate money. They dropped the Herald much more quickly than in the previous game. Last time around, it was around 13 minutes or so. This time around, they got it in there at 11. So 100 Thieves just continuing to build up those gold leads without even having to engage in getting kills. Top side someday will go up to almost a 3-wave lead here over Huni, closer to 2.5. In the jungle, it's still a lead for Closer after after the incredible start that he got. Honestly, everywhere except the support role, which doesn't count, the CS is going in the favor of 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, though, I am pretty impressed with how Huni has kind of withstood the onslaught after what was like a catastrophic start where you're TPing down a bot side to try to bail out your jungler and you're losing 2 to 3 waves topside, then losing your flash immediately after that in a bad matchup. Like, that is tough to actually hold on. And now Huhi moving up towards this top side, they're going to try to catch Huni out here. I mean, if he goes aggressive with the Mega, he's surely going to die to the Braum, so he's got to really play this safe. I mean, Braum is just on top of him.
Oh, no, he missed the Winter's Bite, and Huni just gets to walk away. You hate to see that. He thought he was going to walk all the way into the brush, and right as he fires the skill, Huni turns back around.
Yeah, oh, and now going to scoop him back to the tower. The minion's gone.
Oh, wow, and Someday has to use the flash just to get away because an extra turret shot was going to find him after the fact. That was a big win up there for Huni.
Playing really well again in this weak side. Huni has been impressing. Was a player that was receiving so much criticism on TSM. If you remember back to the lock-in, people were calling for his head a couple games in the lock-in tournament, calling for him to be replaced, calling for him to be subbed out. You know, he was dying constantly on weak side on Gnar, specifically on this champion, getting caught out left and right. And doing much better these days, but Closer moving down here. FBI does have the ulti again, but Cleanse as well as Alistar Ultimate is available. Don't need either.
Okay, the Drake is alive. Everybody's hanging out down here. What's the state of the teleports? It looks like all 4 solo laners just about have those ready. Ryoma still has a couple more seconds to go. TSM going after the Drake here. And it doesn't look like we're seeing much of a response from 100 Thieves. The assist me pings are coming out now. Closer leading the charge forward. We'll see if they really want to commit for this and try to make a play, try to defend, try to continue stacking these Drakes. Down to about 500 HP, and it's stolen away by Closer. Nicely done. TP's coming in now with a Braum ulti being used, but a ton of damage coming out from TSM. It's first blood, and it's about to be second. He burns down, and TSM loses the Drake, but they take 2 kills.
Nicely done by them. I mean, the fact that Closer steals that saves them a little bit. FBI maybe going to get chased down. Does have his summoner, so we'll have to flash the combo here, I think.
Well, that didn't happen. He tries to use the heal after the fact, and with the flash, he stays alive. Now we'll see if Huni and Sword Art can get themselves out. A TP coming in from Power of Evil says, "You leave my teammates alone."
Man, it just keeps going. One TP comes in, the other answers. Both top laners TP'd in towards that dragon, both mid laners TPing in towards that bottom lane. TSM, I think they come out way ahead on this when you consider the scaling, when you consider, you know, their 5v5, I just think is a lot stronger, a lot easier to execute, similar to last game. So, 100 Thieves, they get the steal, they keep their hopes of that soul alive, but there's no way for them to really commit to the fight. The Ashe Arrow is the only tool they had, and they used that prior. So Sword Art just walks into the face of Huhi there and stands on the ward that is being TP'd to by Jace and says, "Welcome to the party."
Happy to have you, buddy. TSM just about equalizing the game in terms of gold off of that one. Shrunk that almost 2K lead back down to around 500. Really good stuff for them, and especially for Spica, who's still behind in the jungle tempo overall, so getting the first blood on him, having that extra 400 gold in pocket. He's got his Everfrost now. You can see the free boots have kicked in too, and we'll see 100 Thieves going after the Rift Herald here for the second time this game.
Yep. 100 Thieves will have really good damage in their comp, but again, it's just, can you avoid the engage? Can you stay away, you know, from the Scatter of the Week, from the Alistar combo, from the Huni engage? Because if any of that hits you, the follow-up there, you know, from the Syndra, from the Nidalee, from the Kai'Sa is going to be too much. Oh, they do have a little bit better scaling here with the Tristana, of course, compared to the Lucian, but you know, trading that for some of the early power. So we'll see what they can get done here. Going to be grabbing another Rift Herald. So they have had full control of the neutral objectives. That has been definitely going in their favor. They took down that bottom tier 1 using the Rift Herald there. They're now going to get the top tier 1 with the Rift Herald there. They got both the early dragons. So that is working in their favor, but TSM is a lot closer in gold this time around compared to the last, and we'll see if they can trade back a tower here in mid or even potentially in bot to continue keep staying close as far as the gold goes.
Right, we just now ticked 16 minutes in this game, and with 100 Thieves being 1,500 gold ahead, in the previous game, around 16, 17 minutes, this was closer to a 3K lead for the side of 100 Thieves. So they do need to keep on building these leads. They do need to try to keep constructing these advantages wherever they can find them. Top laners have switched over to the bottom side of the map now, and we'll continue seeing how that 1v1 evolves. It's the Eclipse once again here for Someday completed. That control ward inside the brush. Someday can probably just finish that one off easy peasy. There we go. And Huni now down about 30 CS or so. Is this an acceptable level of being ahead for the Jays? Is 30 farm up over the Gnar and a scoreline of 0-1-0 a good enough lead for Someday heading into the mid-game now?
I mean, I think it's fine. I don't think it's what you wanted. I mean, if you're just looking in isolation, then yes, I think that's a pretty significant lead. But when you're taking in consideration that you essentially have like 3 ADC type characters, that you have not really any engage whatsoever in your team comp, like I just think you need to be hard slamming side lane, and that's not really happening right now. I think that Huni, with the couple assists that he's picked up, the fact that he's actually pretty much dead even as far as experience, that he stayed within striking distance as far as gold, means that Huni is in the better spot, really.
Huni with that stride breaker ready to go too. Extra team fight capability there to jump in, get the slows, and guarantee that he can slam people into the wall at the right time. 1 minute until Drake number 3. Now, Azael, back in game number 1, this was the moment. That was when the entire game fell apart for 100 Thieves. TSM swung the game back into their own favor. They took the Baron after the fact. Now, there is no Baron to take because the Dragons were started much earlier this game. So that, for one, can't happen here again. But 100 Thieves has to be mindful of what happened in that first game. Make sure the same thing doesn't happen here again. If you can't win the fight, don't take the fight, and be really, really respectful of all those engage tools. But a sleep's coming out. Spica could be in trouble. The arrow comes through. Chain CC coming out, going down, but the damage is not there just yet. Spica stays alive. Ryoma tries to go in, but now he's got to be careful too, rocking right back out of the situation. Spica not dead, still at about 1/3 HP, heals back up to half. There's some fruits in the river that he can pick up, but a nice shock blast will keep him low on health. 100 Thieves doing everything they can to try to buy some advantages here, but now they're taking some poke in return. Lost, Power of Evil, Spica, lots of poke tools here on the side of TSM.
Yeah, I think it's going pretty well, though, 400 Thieves. When you look, Syndra has no ulti, no flash. Those being gone is pretty significant. We'll see who can land more of that poke, though. Jace, Ashe, pretty consistent. Sword Art, though, on the flank. They know he's
coming
here.
In.
They should.
Steal it away yet again, and he does it twice now here in this second game. 100 Thieves now turning around on the TSM players that were looking to collapse on a flank. Big 3-man ulti coming out from Huni. Looking to set it up, knock him down. Lost going in, Ryoma going out. 100 Thieves. They managed to steal the Drake, but it looks way too similar to the last time around. They lose 2 guys afterwards, but they at least take Lost out of the picture.
Man, Closer is keeping their hopes alive here with the back-to-back smite secures on those Dragons. I mean, this game is very, very close because it is a slight gold lead, but if they get Infernal Soul, with the ease of application that they have in their composition, with the Ashe, with the Jace, even the Lilia, all these champs who can poke away and really apply that very easily, they can win the game. So it's going to come down now potentially to this next fight here where TSM keeps winning out in the 5v5, but they keep losing the smite battle. And they cannot afford to lose the next one here. Again, Closer just better on the smite, gets it down before the smite even came through there from Spica. It was a good bit of damage coming over from that 100 Thieves side, all hitting the Dragon at the same time, coordinating there. Then Huni, 3-man ulti. Ryoma flashes out. The Scatter of the Week follows it up to catch multiple members, and that's the kind of CC that I'm talking about that can make it so difficult for this squad of 100 Thieves to actually fight. If one bit of CC lands, the rest will also land, and you will be burst down during it. So they need to get these Dragons. They need to keep pushing that advantage. And thanks to Closer, they have a chance in this game.
Those smites, man. Closer putting in the work here for this squad. But we will see that next Drake fight, that fateful 4th Drake that could be the early soul here in about 3 minutes. Still not a lot of turrets taken down this game.
Nope.
100 Thieves only with 2, TSM only with 1, and the tier 1 turret mid still stands for both teams. Now Sword Art's immediately counter-engaging as 100 Thieves moves forward. Closer's got to be really looking out on this, but he's already dead. TSM finding themselves 2, about to make it 3 different kills, and 100 Thieves. It's just like in the previous game, Azael. 20 minutes rolls around, TSM picks up some freebies, and they're going right into the Baron pit.
Yeah, you count 3 kills, I count 4, because the purple worm is going down here. TSM smash that fight. And they knew, you can tell the comms were clear there by Sword Art's body language, how he's moving his character. He spots multiple members walking towards him in that brush. Not even for a split second did he back off. He is calling for the TP, he is preparing for the play, and as soon as they face check here, he is going immediately in. He knows that he wants this fight. Spica is collapsing, Lost is moving forward immediately, forcing Closer into that stasis, but as soon as he gets out, he is dead. FBI is sectioned off, your jungler is pretty much already dead, your solo laners don't have a way to enter the fight. And TSM, that is great coordination, great shot calling. They are now 2,000 gold up. They have the Baron buff. The potential to expand that much further with 2 tier 1 towers still on the map. And for 100 Thieves, it is all eggs in the Infernal Soul basket. You must be able to get that. I just do not think that they can survive, even to have more opportunities down the line at a close enough level. It's got to be this next dragon for them, or I think it's bust on this game.
90 seconds to go. But the problem is the Baron buff is still around for another 2 minutes. So if 100 Thieves tries to go after that dragon right as it spawns, which TSM will probably try to force the issue on, they will have to deal with a Baroned up TSM that has that extra sort of strength. The point that I made earlier about the tier 1 turret still standing, well, TSM would love to fix that if they can here with the power of the Baron. Generally, turrets still standing outside of the base are pretty free money once you pick the Baron up. It won't be as big of a deal as it is other times here just because of the fact that TSM isn't super far ahead, but they're still pushing up a couple of different lanes, providing multiple points of pressure, and forcing 100 Thieves to rotate around and try to answer.
Man, this just feels like such a mirror image of the last game. TSM are winning the fights. 100 Thieves are trying to get towards Soul. TSM win a fight and get the Baron. Ryoma is committing to the split push. When TSM have the Baron, 100 Thieves are saying, all right, we can't fight them. Let's try to get something through side lane. So last game we saw it on the Lucian, hard commit to the split push. This game we're going to see it from Ryoma. He's still up on that top side while TSM are actually setting up for the Dragon. He's just going to go for the tower. So they may just make the call that, nope, we're going to give it up. We're not going to fight into Baron. We're going to try to hope that we can get something done later. They will get this tower because Huni has no TP and he's actually moved down here. So it's all aboard the split push train, and you're looking for these kind of guerrilla tactics that 100 Thieves tried to win through last game. It feels like they have just accepted this is the way we've got to play the game. Don't challenge anything. Look to split the map. Look to take objectives. Hope that TSM mismanages, and that you can maybe get a win through grabbing a sneak inhibitor or really creating pressure on the map like that.
And I really want to praise Huni here, because you mentioned earlier how Huni's kind of the man put in the just sacrifice yourself for the team, sacrifice yourself in the draft, just be the guy who's got to play the weak side. And honestly, there are 2 players on TSM who have 100% kill participation in this game. One of them is the AD carry. Okay, that's expected. The other one's the top laner. And this is a role that people always like to joke around. Oh, yeah, top lane's an island. Top laners are there. They TP into the fights sometimes. But, you're out in your own little world. Well, Huni's been a part of everything here for this team, despite the fact, he doesn't have as much CS as a Jace, but that's generally just the state of playing against Jace. And Huni has been very important for TSM's success in these fights and staying alive in this game after the rough start they had.
Yeah, and not getting picked off a single time, right? You're in this bad matchup against Someday, who's known as one of the really strong laners in the league, and Huni had really been criticized for his weak side play. And it's interesting how much it feels like the narrative has changed, because I feel like this is actually TSM at their best is when Huni is playing weak side. And that used to be the opposite. It used to be this guy cannot play weak side. You must play towards him, because if you don't play towards him, he's going to play like you are anyway and just fight and die. He's like, well, I told my jungler to come. He didn't come. I'm still doing the same thing. But he's really playing so intelligently.
Well, Someday jumps in there, and it's Sword Art who's now taking a lot of damage coming out. Nice Braum ulti finds both Sword Art and Lost. Lost gets himself away for now. Dodging away from the Swirl Seed means he stays alive. Ryoma continues the chase, but TSM will lose only their support. At the same time, it's Huni pressuring here in the top lane. Spica right next to him. They may be able to grab this tier 2.
Don't know if they have enough minions. They'll get a little bit of damage down. We'll see if they want to just try to tank it up and commit to that. But was a bit of an overextension there from Sword Art. They had dodged the initial engage, and I think assumed that then 100 Thieves would be bailing out to actually answer the top side, that they could maybe catch a lazy recall, that someone would be actually split off. Instead, 100 Thieves had actually stayed in that quadrant. They did not answer that top side push, so he does end up going down, but On the next wave, Spica and Huni grab the tower, so it's a kill for a tower. No objectives for 100 Thieves to grab. That is still in the favor of TSM there. And you can see Lost getting really strong now. He is on 3 items this point on that Kaisa, and is going to be so incredibly threatening in the 5v5. So much setup here, with the team around him, with the Meganar, with the engage from the Alistar. And if they can find those squishy champions, he dives in with the R, with the Gale Force plus an isolated Q. You're just popped. You pretty much die instantly. Hui has got to keep them safe to have any chance of living in those situations.
Yeah, the power of Kai'Sa's isolated Q plus Collector plus Gale Force execution plus Plasma proc. You're not going to live through that too easily. It's a real issue here for the side of 100 Thieves, who are now down 2,500 gold. They're still on that soul point. It's 2 minutes before they get another try at that Drake, but Baron will respawn here in about 30 seconds. 100 Thieves knows what happened the last time they got caught in the top side of the map. They cannot afford to give away a second Baron.
Huni pushing out on that bot side, so it's actually 100 Thieves now that is kind of grouped here, looking to poke and prod, trying to utilize this Jace to maybe get a little bit of something going here on the map, but as long as TSM can keep eyes on a lot of these members, Huni has a free push. Now someone from 100 Thieves is going to have to go down to the bot side and answer that wave, so Huni can potentially stay down there and continue pushing, or even just move up and help to secure more vision around that Baron for his team. TSM also knows that if 100 Thieves tries to send multiple members down to collapse on Huni, they can threaten a Baron themselves. So a lot of threat here on the map for them right now, and they're in a pretty good position of control. Both side lanes working in their favor, and 100 Thieves are just kind of in this death ball, and it feels like there's a little bit of decision paralysis from them right now.
FBI sticks around long enough to clear out the control ward in the river. The TSM's all moving together now. They have rotated Huni up here. He's ready to be a part of the Baron fight. TSM moving into the 100 Thieves topside jungle. They'll lay down the vision. They'll sweep out whatever they can for 100 Thieves. And this is sort of what you're talking about back in Champ Select, Azael. You said 100 Thieves cannot be the ones who have to face check these neutral objectives. They can't be the ones walking into a brush that might have an Alistar in it, but that's the situation that is their reality right now. TSM are the ones with full control over the top side of the river, with full control over the Baron pit, and they're the ones starting this up. It's already down to half HP. Closer throws in the Swirl Seed. It finds its mark on Spica, but no one else. 100
Sword Art on the flank.
Contemplating walking closer. Sword Art's ready here to go on the flank. The Baron's going to be taken down. Spica's got it, ready to go. TSM have the Baron, and now the team fight started up. Sword Art's tanking on the front line. He will be the sacrifice. Spica jumps. Oh, no! What in the hell?
It's been betrayed.
Oh, okay.
In.
We're going to pretend like we didn't see that. We didn't see that. TSM gets 4 people away. The teleport's coming in. They will not kill the turret in time before TSM can reinforce their line. So TSM holding on to this tier 1 turret here in the mid lane. But it's 100 Thieves who have a 5v4 on the map. It's 100 Thieves who could potentially get their Infernal Soul right here, right now. TSM's coming in. Huni's just about ready to transform. Dragon has been slayed. Soul has been secured. 100 Thieves make their exit.
I don't even think this is worthwhile at all for TSM. The fact that they get the Baron is great, but the Soul is a permanent buff. And I feel like they kind of overcommitted to that Baron. If they had won the team fight and got the Baron, of course, then you get both. And Sword Art looked like he had a beautiful flank, but the team wasn't really ready to turn. He hits this multi-man headbutt pulverize, but the team is still focusing down the Baron. They finish the Baron, but your front line is dead while you are doing that, so then you cannot continue the fight. And as a result, it is 100 Thieves getting that Infernal Soul, which gives them a lifeline in this game. We'll see what TSM can get done with the Baron here, trying to push forward, collect some gold. But at this point, TSM is looking for the flank. Will they go for the dive?
They're going in. Everfrost root down onto the Braum. Hey, what were we talking about with Everfrost and Nidalee if she just walks up to you and roots you? Unlucky for Hui, man. The pick comes through. TSM nearly finding 2 more onto both of the marksmen. And with 100 Thieves having lost their support and having to heal up 2 of the remaining players, it is oh so easy for TSM to just move on in there and take mid lane in here.
Yeah, egg on my face. Maybe the Infernal Soul doesn't matter at all here. If TSM are able to just walk up that easily, without even the full 5, and take the tower, take the inhibitor, 100 Thieves feel like they've got nothing to say about this. With Hui down, they are not willing to even step forward and commit. So, I take it all back. If you're going to be able to get 2 inhibitors with the Baron, that is very worthwhile, because then even with the Infernal Soul, it becomes so difficult to actually play the map. Thankfully for 100 Thieves, they will at the very least maintain that bottom inhib here. And now we have to see what they can get done as the Baron buff starts to expire, because this is really the point of power for TSM in this trade, was this remaining 25 seconds where they're powered up by that Baron, where they have the push, where they got this inhibitor, but the Infernal Soul will last the rest of the game. So can 100 Thieves really make it work? Can they land enough poke with the additional power of that Infernal Soul to push TSM off objectives, or to kite back and win fights that they otherwise would not be able to do?
Look at the gold graph, man. 1,900 was the highest gold lead that 100 Thieves commanded this game, and TSM now about 5,000 gold ahead of their opponents. 100 Thieves, they've got the Infernal Soul, but it's not feeling like enough. It's like you said, man, it looked good. It feels like, oh man, we finally got it. The win condition is there, but then when TSM can just walk up, when you don't have CC yourself, when 4 out of 5 of the characters on your team are so incredibly squishy, it just feels like TSM has more options, and they feel safe to just allow those options to play out, because eventually somebody will get caught, somebody will take too much poke, somebody will be in range of Sword Art, or Lost, as he just goes in and tries to Tristana. But it doesn't quite work. Not enough damage there for the kill.
Yep, traded the ultis there. Worth the attempt, but not too much coming from it. Yeah, and it's interesting, man. It's just so hard for 100 Thieves to ever actually start a fight on their terms, because Ashe is your only engage. There's a cleanse on Lost. There's stasis on Spica and Power of Evil. They should be able to reactively, stasis that or dodge it. Like, you can also just step out of the way of the Ashe arrow. Sword Art can tank it, then use his ult to break it. And Huni is tanky enough that you're not going to kill him if you hit him. So it's so few opportunities to really succeed with that, and that's your only way to engage, but they find one of those opportunities right there.
Nicely done. Spica even had the, what I consider one of just the most overpoweredly broken things possible in League of Legends. He has Zhonya's Hourglass plus the extra unused stopwatch in inventory, so Spica has double stasis. But he was chain CC'd perfectly and was not able to use those, so a good pick there from 100 Thieves.
And the Ashe ult came right out over the wall from out of Spica's vision, so he had no ability to really react to it, and he was very far up by himself. I think he felt safe because you can actually check these brushes with the trap, but if you're in range to check with the trap, well, you're in range to get engaged on as well. So they do find a pick there. That is critical for 100 Thieves. They do have a tremendous amount of damage in their composition. When you're looking at both of these 80 carries are on 3 items plus some parts. Someday is on 3 items as well. So you do have the ability to really punish any failed engage from TSM, but you don't really have the ability to choose when and where you fight. Besides just kind of showing up to an objective and knowing TSM is going to go for it. So we'll see what 100 Thieves can do. If TSM finds a good engage, it feels like the 5v5 is just completely theirs. If they fail the engage, though, 100 Thieves have got options.
Well, we got Elder Drake coming up in just over 1 minute. Ryoma's going to go ahead, back up, get ready to go on that. 100 Thieves inhibitor in mid lane will be respawning around the same time as that Elder Drake. So this fight should be very, very impactful. Baron now spawning in about 15 seconds. TSM once again having control over the top side of the map. Lost feels totally comfortable just pushing up this side lane on his own. He'll rejoin the rest of the squad now, and we'll see, does TSM want to rush after this Baron? Sword Art once again clearing through all this vision, making sure that TSM is fully prepared and has all the information they can possibly gather before they go in for an objective like that. Someday has his Edge of Night, but it will not matter. Kaisa does some crazy damage, but the flash away from Someday keeps him alive, as Sword Art might now get punished. Ryoma's still not grouped up here with the rest of the team just yet. Nice exhaust down to Kaisa, but she stays alive with a massive shield. The shutdown on the enemy AD carry is important. It's a double kill over to Someday, who he stays alive for an extra moment, but he is still burning down. FBI's out of the picture. A triple kill over to the Jace. It is a 3-for-1 for 100 Thieves, as both super buffs are on the map.
They just couldn't get the initial kill there. Someday survived, and he was huge for 100 Thieves in that fight. They had the wraparound on him, but they didn't have the rest of the team there to follow up. It was a pretty split fight, and Someday played it so damn well, even at the very end, knocking Spica out of the air on the pounce there to keep himself alive. They get Elder, they will get Baron, and they're going to have triple super buffs here. So let's watch this one more time. You have the Edge of Night. It does not block combo. It only blocks the first half. Stasis to buy time there. Flash is back. Locket available for Huhi. And now you're in this situation where it's Lost and Sword Art completely sectioned off from the rest of the team. Lost lives a long time with the ulti there, But as Huni comes around, Ryoma is there to push him out. Now it's Spica segregated from the rest of the team, knocked out of the air. The Braum stun passive comes through from Someday. They get the kill. Power of Evil could look for a steal over the wall here. TSM want to contest this. They don't want to give it all up, but if you commit to a fight, that's Infernal Soul and Elder Dragon.
Okay, we got the Ash Arrow out, but it only finds Sword Art, but it does get his ulti, so he will not have that ability to just dive in with impunity here if 100 Thieves is able to force a fight in time. 100 Thieves has the Elder Dragon buff for about 100 more seconds. TSM is trying to avoid any sort of a big team fight during that time if they can help it. 100 Thieves will continue maintaining control over this mid lane ground. The Tier 1 turret, 36 minutes into the game, is still standing. 100 Thieves has not yet been able to take it out. Time is running out on this Elder buff. We've got to see 100 Thieves do something with it.
They've got a minute. The goal is definitely get Baron, right? Or get a hard committed 5v5 where you think you could just win the game, because it's so difficult to actually win a fight against the Elder plus the Infernal Soul. They're trying to two-man this Baron right now, Ryoma and Hui. Hui taking a fair bit of damage here, though, and it was spotted over the wall there by TSM, so they're aware that it has been started, but it resets again. And yeah, I mean, with 100 Thieves going back to base, they're not going to have a lot of time. So they stop the recall. They say, no, we need to get something done. This is our strongest point in the game. And they're just committing to it. They're going to flip it.
Oh my goodness gracious, it's Spica stealing it away. Closer may have found the steals on the small Drakes earlier, but 37 minutes into the game, Spica gets him back.
Even gets a kill on Hui going in there. 100 Thieves, they couldn't get the fight. So they make the call, Elder's expiring, we gotta do something. Spica though, over the wall, the wards get dropped, he gets vision, goes in, and smites away the Baron, picking up the kill on Hui at the same time there with the Everfrost. It looked like really nicely done there. And that is so big for TSM, who are up against it in this game. But now with the Baron buff, the Elder has expired. They again take control here. Yes, the Infernal Soul is there, but while the Baron is active, they are pretty damn strong. But TSM, to be honest, have been struggling in a lot of these more recent fights. They haven't been fully engaging at the same time. You need all 5 members grouped up. You need to be able to follow up and kill someone off immediately when you land that CC. Because after the initial wave of crowd control comes through from the Alistar, he combos, he hits someone. If they don't die during that, Alistar's stuck in there, Nar's stuck in there, and they will be killed off by these super strong marksmen who are at 4 items who have Infernal Soul.
All right, TSM, let's see what they can get done here with the Baron. 90 seconds left on this one. There are inhibitors vulnerable in mid lane and bottom lane with half HP remaining on the inhibitor turret here in the top side. Hui now finding himself taking some damage from Huni as the spear flies out from Spica, but won't find anyone here just yet. FBI's got to be so careful, man. It's so easy for pretty much anyone on TSM not named Sword Art to just kill him if he's even slightly out of position. As 100 Thieves will do everything they can to clear away these Baron-empowered minions. Doesn't look like they're struggling too much with it here so far, and TSM is being careful not to overcommit.
Yeah, TSM just kind of slowly pushing this in. They're moving to a 3-lane start here, but Lost in trouble.
Oh, Lost eating a lot of damage here, but the Killer Instinct will not be enough to keep him alive, and Ryoma gets the kill.
That is so huge. I mean, if Lost gets the kill, even a trade, TSM can continue the push, but with the 1-for-0, Ryoma's going to be back in base, healing up. That feels like the end of the Baron buff for TSM. So now they're going to try to look for a pick here. That's the only way they can actually continue forward with this Baron buff, get anything with it, but they're not able to find it, and they'll accomplish absolutely nothing with this Baron.
That is back-to-back super buffs, one for each team, that didn't do a damn thing. The Elder Dragon ended up being a Baron play that was stolen away by TSM, and then TSM's now stolen Baron play turns into Lost, losing a fight that he picks with Ryoma, and he's not able to do anything about that. He dies, so now TSM's Baron has done nothing. We've seen these buffs go to either side, but the game state itself just keeps jumping back and forth. You're in the driver's seat now. You're in the driver's seat now. We're in the driver's seat now. Somebody's got to take the damn wheel, Azael.
Yeah, and teams are just making good plays to kind of counteract a lot of what they're trying to get done, right? It's the huge Baron steal from Spica. Otherwise, that Elder would have done a lot. It's the pick that Ryoma gets onto Lost. Otherwise, potentially, Huni is down on that bottom side. You have 3 lanes pushing with the Baron, and maybe at the very least, TSM is able to re-kill those inhibitors, but not able to make it happen on both accounts. And again, we are now 40 seconds away from the Elder. and I feel like a broken record, but it's going to be about the engage. These carries are fully loaded. They're so damn strong. If you nail the engage from TSM, you can kill them off. If you fail it, your front line is toast.
Okay, Power of Evil takes a pretty big chunk of damage there from the Empowered Shock Blast of Sunday's Jace. He'll get himself back. Huni has transformed into Mega Knock.
Too early.
So 100 Thieves recognize that he's at that point of strength right now as soon as he transforms back. Ryoma tries to go in. A nice follow-up arrow here, but where's the rest of the damage? FBI goes forward, but it's going to be 2 for 1 here so far. Power of Evil is down, but the rest of 100 Thieves now has no way to fight back, or do they? Sword Art tanking up here at the very front. Someday putting out the damage onto everybody. He's the carry. He's the guy who's got to get it done. Sword Art about to drop next. Lost goes on a killing spree. Closer buying a little bit of time here with the stasis with Guardian Angel, bringing Someday back to life. But Lost takes them all down. A triple kill and a Bud Light ace for TSM.
Lost is found, and TSM, I think they've got their second win. They are going to push down mid. These spawn timers are way too long.
Holy moly, that last fight. Damage dealt in the last team fight, 494 from Ryoma, who was just not able to get the damage that he needed there onto Power of Evil. As the Nexus turrets fall, Lost redeems himself for the death in the top lane with a 6,000 damage team fight, and TSM will take us to match point, going up 2-0.
Damn, what a back and forth game here in game number 2. 100 Thieves really making them work for it, but it came down to that final engage. They thought they had the pick on Power of Evil. He ended up going down, but they lose their carries to get it. They overcommit to the fight. TSM instantly responds and Lost untouched throughout most of that final fight there. Ripped through them, full build Kai'Sa. They could not get on top of him. Once Tristan is down, Ashe is down, you don't have enough threat onto this monster that was Lost, and TSM able to take the fight, able to take the game. You got to give 100 Thieves a lot of credit in this one. They fought hard, and Closer in particular, landing multiple contested smites on the Dragons is really what gave them a fighting chance in this. If it weren't for that, they wouldn't have had the soul, and I don't think they would have had, a snowball's chance in hell of winning this game against TSM, but he was on point with that. And from what was a very difficult position, 100 Thieves were fighting back, but it's TSM that is coming out on top in these critical moments. Spica loses Dragons, as you said, steals away the Baron. And in this final fight, TSM, when it mattered, they win big, and they are now at match point in this series.
Yeah, Power of Evil, it looks like he's in a bad spot. Ryoma goes in, tries to find the damage, eats some burst back. Power of Evil drops all his damage, does everything he can to buy enough time, and that purchase was exactly what they needed, because it makes it so not only Ryoma, but also FBI has to overcommit to guarantee the kill into Power of Evil. And then once both those marksmen are dead, it's like you say, there's just no way to navigate the fight against a 6-item Kai'Sa when you don't have a marksman response yourself. So TSM reacting properly. Yes, Power of Evil is doomed in that situation, but he gets all the mileage he can out of everything in his kit, and it's enough for TSM to turn it around and take the win. TSM are now up 2-0, 1 point away from taking this whole best-of-5 series and staying alive in the lower bracket, going on to continue to play next week. But we still have more to play. We're taking a break, and on the other side, the State Farm Analyst Desk breaks down the win.
It's time for Assist of the Day, presented by State Farm. With Closer and Huhi waiting in the wing, Ryoma played the bait, and the team collapsed instantly on Dignitas.
Immediate need to push for the river, but if you can take over work control, you take it. And that's the flash. Nice to get away by Ryoma, but now Dardoch could be the target, has his own flash. There's the hook, there's a lantern and ult to safety. Re-engage gonna find that first one into Fleeting, and there is the kill. Ryoma claims it. Great re-engage by 100 Thieves.
You've saved me so much on my insurance with that Russell rate. You become my muse.
Russell, State Farm offers everyone surprisingly great rates.
I feel like I captured your kind eyes.
You want the real deal? Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back to the midseason showdown. That was a wonderfully messy game where TSM just managed to eke out a victory over 100 Thieves, pushing the series score to 2-0. So right there on the verge of moving themselves along to play against Team Liquid. They'll have to get it done one more time. But let's talk about how they got it done this time around. Primal, both teams kind of opting into very similar strategies that we saw in game one. A couple unique picks on either side. But at the end of the day, both poised to do similar things. So with that in mind, I just want to dive straight into gameplay because this was a long back and forth game with plenty of highs and plenty of lows. Let's start in the top lane.
Yeah, this is a long heater, and I think from both teams' perspectives, it's totally okay to draft Jace and Gnar. I think from both perspectives, you like the matchup top. Jace is great if you play around it, if you can get it ahead, and how I mentioned earlier, Gnar is really great if you survive, and then you could just be effective in team fights. But this is the second game in a row where 100 Thieves has had opportunities to get Jace even more ahead, but didn't commit. Huni was super far behind in CS after his early TP, but Closer decides, okay, I burned his flash in 6 minutes, but I'm going to go bottom and drop Rift Herald rather than try to regang top while Huni doesn't have flash. And then Huni is actually able to not only do well by himself, but he's actually able to thrive, burn some days flash, which all but guarantees that he's not going to be dying under pressure. And I think over the course of this game, Huni has established himself as an elite top laner at playing weak side in particular. In my opinion, 100 Thieves needs to be going top constantly. You're picking Jace on Sunday. You need to pass him the damn ball and stay up there.
Yeah, and in the the example that you provided, at least the last replay, like that was a situation where Someday is also just messing up. This is 2 games that I've seen in a row where I'm not seeing the Someday that I want to see in a matchup that he's being given an advantage for. Like, if you can throw Jace and Gnar on top lane and they're just in an isolated state, like, Jay should feel really comfortable in that, but it feels like Huni's outplaying. So, like, that's my concern, is that we're running into a situation where TSM flatly believes that they can get away with it, and they're right. So now it's on 100 Thieves to probably just draft towards more team fighting and to move away from the Jace, which hurts to say, but we're this far into the split. We're in playoff time, and you got to go with what's comfortable and what's more, straightforward for a team.
I think he's actually playing the Jays pretty well. Granted, game one, he definitely inted like 3 deaths in a row. This game, however, he only died once. He was 0-1-0, and then after that, he turned to 4-1-4. He played infinitely better post-laning phase this game than he did the first game. However, since you lost twice in a row with it, do you really run it back? I'm going to say yes, do the salty run back.
Oh.
We'll see if
there
we
go.
don't.
Okay, okay.
Play better with it.
Yeah,
Play better with it.
Yeah, you baited me there, though. You almost never expect the third game to be a salty run back, but we do need to roll forward. Raz, so much of the story of this game was the steals. We had 2 on one side and 1 going the other way.
Yeah, this specific steal, Syndra comes in a little late. Sword Art has an opportunity to engage on towards Closer, who was in range, but once again, like, it's basically 100 Thieves being able to get into position to contest, and Closer's doing it. You love to see it. Like, I enjoy the fact that if they feel confident being able to come in and steal it, big positives. This, on the other hand, let's turn our gaze as it hits 20-30, and so 100 Thieves cut into the enemy side jungle, are warded in doing so, didn't catch a ward behind red buff that sees them in rotation as they were trying to cut off the duo lane, and gets converged on. And it was rough. They lost the Baron off that.
All right, it was 2 Dragon steals going the way of 100 Thieves, and that would will allow them to ultimately pick up the Infernal Soul you see them using here. But Spica, looking for his revenge of all things, Primal. Not to be outdone as the Smite Steel King. He did it. He did it. I mean, in so many ways.
And,
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I don't know how many times we're going to get to watch Spica get a Baron steal. In fairness, he got 2 dragons stolen away from him, so I feel like it was just karmic retribution, but it's pretty funny to watch Spica consistently do this.
Honestly, the earlier dragon steals that got taken from, I want to say it's not his fault. I'd rather blame Sword Art for that, because Sword Art can just punt away the enemy jungler, and in both times where it did get stolen, he wasn't there in the right position to do that. So I'm going to not fault Spica for the dragon getting stolen from. I'm going to fault Sword Art for that. I'm I'm gonna give him a break for that. And then he stole that Baron. He played well. It's not his fault that his support doesn't knock away the enemy jungler. That's free right there. But he didn't do it. So what can you do?
Yeah, and the
I agree.
first time they ended up stealing it was like, I think Syndra came late to the fight. They weren't in a position to like basically combat 100 Thieves just walking in through river. So it was more, yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, it's like it's on the team to be in position for when they walk in to just to choose the fight, and they weren't into it. So it's always rough for the jungler when you always have to contest for 50-50 when you had the position you begin with. I was like, that's when you just have to press the replay button after the series and look back how it happened.
Yeah, well, and regardless of whose fault it was, the fact of the matter is that 2 Dragon steals is what set 100 Thieves up to secure the soul, but it as well was a result of TSM making a play for a Baron when Dragon was spawning. And so I do want to get this up onto the screen again, Hive, because from a macro perspective, there was a lot of discussion even from the casters themselves. Is this worth it?
Right. So when I watch this play, I immediately think of what I would have done differently. And for me, if I was TSM in this situation, I would never have done this Baron and traded the Baron for the future Dragon Soul that's coming up. Now, my question to you guys is, what do you personally like this Baron force here? Disregarding Huni trolling his jungler there, do you think this is a good play by TSM, forcing this Baron?
I think it's good as a bait. I don't think it's good as an objective that you're looking to complete. I mean, if you look at the replay, right, Swordart's actually looking for a flank. And there's no vision on the side of 100 Thieves. He was in a really good spot to flash ult there. We had Huni has Mega. He can also flash ult. And FBI has ult as Ashe. So there's so many tools to just pick a fight that looks good for you. I think maybe their comms got a little garbled up because it looked like they almost intended to take a fight, but then Baron got low and like, okay, we're just going to finish it. So to answer your question, no, I don't think they go for that Baron. I think it's a privilege, not a right.
It's definitely in the setup that I think was the concern, that you're basically looking for Baron rather than. I can understand the concern that if you try to go for Dragon, it's not valuable for you, and the enemy team could just be on opposite side taking Baron. But Baron is a slower burn. You can always contest that with Alistar, slow contest it. So yeah, they for sure should defend Dragon, and if they feel it's not being contested, just put one person on Dragon and slow contest Baron.
Now, even for all of the work that 100 Thieves did to extend this game and claw their way back into it high, it just wasn't enough as we roll our way into the final team fight of the match.
Oh, I feel so bad because on one end, I like the fact that he's trying to do plays like this, but on the other end, it looks really bad when it fails. Between FBI and Ryoma, hard sending it to kill PoE. It's just one of those situations where, like, yes, I like to see aggression from these players. I want to see them test their limits, but when they test their limits like this at game deciding points when they're like relatively ahead, in my opinion, and they're likely poised to win the game, is this a risk that you should be taking, or is that a risk you should have taken like 23 minutes ago? You know, like I have to disagree with their decision to take that risk then and there rather than earlier in the game. I like the fact that they're taking risks, but maybe take it, I don't know, 23 minutes before, rather than we have the entire game in your hands and just toss it over to the enemy team. I don't know. That's just kind of inting right there, to be honest.
I think just doing it in your vision. Like the best teams in this league and in global esports, so teams that like Damwon, like RNG, that when they get the vision, they force you to walk into them. And in this situation, it was TSM on the outside looking in. Let them walk into your vision, chip them out when you can, and have Tristana be on Fog of War. So she can find that. But if she's just jumping in vision, for sure, like Syndra is going to be able to stop you there. So I think, 100 Thieves just need to be a lot more comfortable playing around the vision that they do have.
All right, series point. Going into game 3, 100 Thieves got to put 3 back-to-back in order to take it. TSM just needs the one Primal. We already know that High wants the salty run back for the 3rd game in a row here. My first question to you is do you want the same thing? And if not, where should 100 Thieves go instead?
I want it too. I want the salty run back. I actually think Trist was much better than the Lucian here, although, admittedly, they couldn't pick the Trist game 1 because it did get banned. But I think it's more of an issue of play. Again, if you're going to put Someday on the Jace, commit to getting him ahead on the Jace. So let's do a salty run back of the draft, but don't do a salty run back of the gameplay.
I agree with the salty run back, but change your mid lane champion. Pick a different champion for Ryoma, and I'm perfectly fine with the Jason to the Gnar matchup, but change the mid laner.
Do you want a control mage? Is that the idea?
I would like that more, yes.
Okay, all right. Just a few thoughts from us on how 100 Thieves can extend the series. We'll see if they take our advice. While TSM have already brought us to match point ourselves, there is still plenty of league action to go around. You can load into game from the comfort of your couch or the desk if you're Raz right before our broadcast, ending his game just minutes before with Wild Rift. It's out now. You didn't...
But it's not going to be enough. 16-3, the Bud Light Ace. Evil Geniuses